What's good, everyone? Welcome back to FaShaun, episode 13. Today, as usual with these earlier episodes, I wanted to go over staples within your style, staples that I think you should have as a guy, or really as anybody. And this one specifically is something that can be worn in the summers, depending on what you wear with it. It could also be worn in the winter, where it can be layered. Of course, as the title suggests, I am talking about this. This is a vintage gray boxy blazer, something that I love to wear all the time, something that elevates casual outfits and brings it a bit more into the formal category. This one specifically is from Balenciaga, and we're gonna get into why I bought it, why you should buy it, and where it fits in your overall style. So let's get into it. Okay, getting into it. This is something I'm not really that big of a fan of, which is a notch lapel. I really kind of like a peak lapel, but you know, it still works, it's still good. This is a single-breasted Balenciaga gray, kind of steely blue-gray wool and cotton blend blazer. Buttons are a horn in brown here. You have two pockets here as well. Some stitching here just for structure. You have a little thing for your pocket square. Something for a brooch right over here. Overall, very high quality piece. I really enjoyed wearing this this summer, and I'm really going to enjoy sort of elevating my outfits and layering them as winter hits. You can see here with the Balenciaga Borham. Likely late 90s, early 2000s. Have a little small pocket there. See if I can get that small pocket there. Larger inner pocket there. Spare button. Another pocket here. Well, I didn't even know this one existed. But yeah. And then a singular seam down the back. Just a really good piece with great structure, padded shoulders, something that everybody can use. Balenciaga and suiting have a storied history together. They started off more traditionally with Cristobal Balenciaga back in the day, but now, ever since Demna, they've gone into something a bit more flowy, a bit more less structured, and a bit more of a focus on silhouette. And that's primarily why I bought this. This is by far the boxiest blazer I have. All the other ones are a bit more clean cut. I did a Valence blazer earlier on the channel. This is something that has a different vibe, and I was looking for it, if I'm being honest, and I found it with this. Looking at my notes here, I see that it's kind of a different shape than a traditional blazer. Because of being boxy, it's also a bit more comfortable. It's not as tight to the body and allows more room for air to circulate so you don't get as hot. The design language is fairly vintage, fairly 90s, early 2000s. That's what you're going to get when you want a vintage boxy blazer. You want to harken back to the past. You don't want something that is modern. And you maybe want to create a contrast between your outfit in terms of maybe adding some modern elements, but then bringing it back to the past with something that's a bit more maybe polarizing to what else, to the other things that you are wearing. And it adds depth to your outfit, something that I feel that everybody needs. I think a lot of people get too shallow, get too basic with their daily life in terms of what they wear. So I definitely feel that this can spice it up, and I think people have discovered that, and that's why you see a lot of people that are stylish wearing boxy gray blazers. In terms of use cases for this, I mean, it's anything, right? It could be you go to the coffee shop. It could you going on a date. It could even be used in an interview. It could be used going to work, in the office. There's so many things that this can do, and because of that, I advise you to buy something vintage, something of quality from a storied brand, maybe Balenciaga, could be Ralph Lauren, what have you, but buy it cheaply, because I bought this for a super cheap price, and it has pretty much fulfilled that price to the next level. And we're going to get into that into the purchase rationale and why I did that. Going into the purchase rationale, I really, again, as always, you want to get a product that has the most amount of legs, as I like to say, the most amount of use cases for your dollar. And then once you find that item, go into eBay, go into your local vintage seller and buy those clothes. I bought this for $100. I don't even, maybe I think it was $90 for a vintage Balenciaga blazer. And I bought this off Grailed and it came from Asia, I believe. And the variety of what I can do, as I just said, is really limitless with the blazer. It can be used casually, it can be formally. I've worn this with shorts, like jean shorts before. So that's another thing that you can do in the summer with like a tank underneath. Very, very utilitarian, very functional with all the pockets as well, and also looks really good. It's kind of why I wanted a blazer that was a bit more casual, but I could use this whenever I'd like. I also used this for a wedding recently. So you can just tell, like, it's an item that you invest maybe $100 in, and that's an invest in, and it will pay back dividends. Going into the market analysis, as you know, we separate this into cheap, moderate, and then expensive when it comes to similar silhouettes, similar colors for this piece that we have right here. For the cheap, and this is usually I say go moderate, but you definitely want to go cheap when it comes to vintage Boxy silhouettes or blazers, simply because they are cheap. You can get something expensive or used to be expensive for really cheap relative to its original price. On eBay, I found a Ralph Lauren gray Boxy vintage blazer, and it was, I think, 60 to 80 bucks Canadian. What is that in US dollars? 40 bucks to 60 bucks. Nothing for what you're getting in the variety that you're going to be able to use it for, in the range that you're going to be using it for. It's cheap, yet it's unique with its vintage. Like, they don't make them like they used to. You're going to get the same type of silhouette. Looking at my notes here, the quality, of course, will be incredible. You're not going to go wrong with vintage, specifically for a blazer. Please look at vintage. You will thank me later. Going into the mid-tier, actually one of the harder tiers to sort of find clothes on. Usually items are on the extremes here, but the mid-tier is pretty much $200 to $500, and then $500 plus is really expensive, and then obviously everything before is cheap. And I really couldn't find anything that was new that fit into that around $200 category. Everything was really, and we're gonna get into it, really expensive. But I was able to find a more androgynous piece from Aritzia called the Generation blazer. I think a piece that would work for men and for women, has that retro styling that's also very boxy. It could work. You can probably catch it on sale. I believe the price is around 200 bucks, but some colors are on sale. And while I think I've actually seen women in this piece, Aritzia is very popular among women, I do feel that it's better for you to go the vintage route. Just looking at my notes here, it's a great midpoint, right? But it's something that's a bit more common, a bit more basic. You're gonna see other people likely in the office with the same piece that you're wearing. You don't want that, right? You have taste, you have style. You want to make sure that you get a silhouette that you're really looking for that has some form of provenance. So I would actually warn away from this mid-tier point with Aritzia, or even other brands in the similar sort of wheelhouse. I would go with, again, something a bit more vintage, and you're going to be paying a quarter the price. Lastly, for the expensive category, we have the daddy of all suiting, I guess, Tom Ford, somebody who I'd love to meet and talk to and chat about experiences, but his suits are world-class. They have world-class, I would say, brand and design monikers. You know what a Tom Ford suit looks like if you know what you're looking for. The peak lapel that goes all the way. My sink is making some crazy noise. Sorry about that. But yeah, the peak lapel that goes all the way. It's a bit wider. Sometimes it's double-breasted, single-breasted, but it feels like a suit of armor. It looks like a suit of armor. However, again, look at my notes here, 8,000, 9,000, 10,000 plus, very expensive for what you're getting. In fact, you can get Tom Ford vintage suits from Gucci for cheaper, and they have way more history associated with them. Or you can even go on eBay and find them for $1,000. Full double-breasted suits I found for $1,000. Even locally in Toronto, there is VSP Consignment. They had a Tom Ford suit in my size that I was thinking about, but it was like $800, $900. I don't have that money, so I had to pass on it. But again, you can get it for that amount. But even then, just go the cheap eBay vintage route. Get a Ralph Lauren, get something like this Balenciaga Homme, get something like a Saint Laurent or a Dior vintage blazer, and you're good. On the head, we have a Supreme collaboration, kind of like fuzzy hat. We have a CDG Homme oversized shirt, a Balenciaga vintage tie, actually, that complements the hat really nicely. The blazer, of course, in the pocket square you have there. We have a Drake's pocket square with some Alexander McQueen denim, super wide denim, and the Marseille derbies that I recently picked up. Okay, here's the fit. We went with something a little bit more, maybe a la Tyler the Creator, a bit more preppy, a bit more vintage, while at the same time having some modern features with it, with the hat, for example, and with the pocket square. Starting off with fit, contrast, and proportion, my proprietary framework into how to dress and style anything. The first F stands for fit. So as you can see here, everything fits on my body very loosely as designed. I made sure to go with the fit of and we will get into it with the silhouetting or the proportion section, with the boxy and flowy nature of the blazer. Nothing here is tight where it needs to be. Everything here is loose. Conversely, if you have a tighter outfit or more narrow silhouette that you're styling, you want to make sure that it's close to the body but not tight on your skin, so that it creates a lot of abrasions or makes you uncomfortable. As soon as it's too tight that you're uncomfortable, you've bought a size too small. And so with fit, I always like to say, you know what works well versus what doesn't. When you look at a rack, you know what's going to fit well on your body versus what doesn't. You know yourself better than anybody else. So when it comes to fit, everything here works as usual. Going on to contrast, so these are separated to two different things: contrast in colors and contrast in textures. Starting off with colors, and we'll get to the hat soon, but I made sure that the blazer, which is more of a gray blue, was contrasted with the blue and gray stripes of my shirt. Similarly with the white, and the white of the denim here, and the white on my hat as well. You want to make sure that that flows in and out. But again, white and denim usually go well together because there's white threads intertwined with blue denim. The blue of the denim, of course, with the blue of the shirt here, the blue of the blazer, black here, black on the tie, black on my belt, though you can't see it, and black leather for my derbies on the bottom. Then coming into contrast and textures, I have some animal products here. Well, then it's not real animal, besides maybe the gloves. But this is a leopard print on my hat with a fuzzy texture. I made to contrast those colors and those textures with my pocket square here, which you will see, as long as you have, even if it's small, as long as you have something that balances out the color and gives your outfit flow and harmony, that is all that matters. And then of course with the animal texture here, I have leather gloves and then leather on the shoes as well. So that shows, again, completing the circle, as I like to say. You've completed the circle on the colors, you've completed the circle, so blue on the blazer, blue on the shirt, blue on the denim, brown on the pocket square, brown on the hat. Texture wise, you have the sort of fuzzy texture on the hat, as well as the more smooth leather on the hands here. So that looks really, really good. Even the tie, you know, yellow and gold goes with the hat as well as the pocket square. You want to complete the circle on all those things. Okay. Going into proportion, like I said with fit, it's very flowy. It's a rectangular box. So you want, in my opinion, what's best is to complete the box. Make it into a full rectangle, you know? So that's why I didn't tuck in my shirt, right? I didn't cinch it at my waist. It is full flowing. The jeans are super baggy, super loose, super low, creating that rectangle. And then, simply because this has more of a padded shoulder, it's boxy, it's big, I wanted to have a bigger shoe as well to complement the jeans, because this rectangle has to have a bottom that completes it. You can't have a slender shoe with a big jean. It's gonna make your shoes look super, super small. It's gonna make you look like you have like pterodactyl feet or something. You need to have a well-proportioned shoe to a well-proportioned leg seam opening. And that translates all the way up through the fit to make sure that you have a rectangle. I've even extended my proportion of my head a little bit by making it wider at the top by this wide brim hat. So this hat works well with the colors, works well with the textures, but also works well with proportion. And that's what you need to have a more complete outfit. I'm actually quite proud of this one. I think it came out very, very well. But you know, as usual, after the in-house sort of pandering, we're now gonna go outside. We're gonna go to a coffee shop. I'm gonna discuss the blazer, discuss how I'm feeling about things and life in general. Let's go. Okay, here's the blazer, here's the fit. We're outside. I added in the overcoat because it's freezing in Toronto. But the hat's looking fire, everything's looking good. We're on our way just to Ossington to Sam James as usual, get ourselves a regular drip coffee. But I really wanted to talk about, I want to use this angle. I really wanted to talk about how, you know, I think my life has been changed. My life has been changed recently for the last couple of years. And I've discovered a lot about myself in this time. And style has helped me gain the confidence to push through that. But also at the same time, there is kind of an aside here, but a musical piece that I have been looking into that really, I think, makes and sort of culminates my experiences. And I want to discuss it. Coffee in hand. Sam James drip coffee, never misses. Yeah, I wish I had a place to sit, but all the porch seating is gone. But anyways, the musical piece is called Luke's. It's by Rosalia. And I think it's the best piece of music that I've ever listened to. It culminates everything. Is this angle better? It culminates everything that I appreciate in music. It culminates my thoughts on romance, on love with God. I'm not a really religious person, but I could feel her when she's talking about it. I think maybe there's an energy force that created everything and it operates on randomness. And maybe that's how the universe got to be created. And maybe praying to that energy force with your own energy, because thoughts are energy. Maybe that does something, you know, in the real world. So that piece of music, listening to it recently, culminates, I think, everything that I've also learned within my last couple of years. And it's changed me. So I'd really recommend everybody go listen to Rosalia, Lux, or Luke's, sung in 13 different languages, and such a beautiful piece of music. I bought it on vinyl immediately. I bought it on vinyl before I even knew the track listing or track order. That's how good it was. But that's it. That's the blazer. That's my coffee. That's what I wanted to talk about. I'm gonna get better at talking on camera. It's kind of embarrassing for me still, but you know, there's no such thing as cringe. It's just your own feelings, and you can control your own feelings. So anyways, that's it, guys. Cheers, bless, till the next one.